Hello, people, and welcome to Jay on the Spectrum, where I, Jordan White, talk about my experiences and how someone on the autism spectrum lives in a world built for neurotypical people. Today, I'm going to be talking about the odd way I view Batman. Many of you who are watching know who Batman is. He is one of the big A-list superheroes. He does not have powers, but he made himself great with gadgets and tech-savvy equipment, making him someone I can look up to in the science and technology realm. As the Joker once said, where does he get those wonderful toys? Simple, he builds them himself, along with Alfred, or maybe Lucius Fox if you remember the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. But there is an odd way that I view this character. I see him as a do-gooder who stands up against evil and fights crime when he is called into action. And all the villains are mainly baddies or hardened criminals who want to make Gotham City a terrible place to live. Most people now are seeing him as some sort of anti-hero who is dark and brooding, and that the villains have justifiable reasons for wanting to do terrible things. My introduction to this character, despite being a 90s kid, was not Tim Burton's adaptation of Batman, nor was it Batman the Animated Series, which gave us Harley Quinn. It was the old 1960s classic TV show starring Adam West and Burt Ward. That was how I viewed Batman as a kid. You see, my parents would not let me watch hardly anything with a PG-13 rating back in the 90s, and they most certainly did not allow me to watch anything that was rated R. They also did not want me to watch too much TV, which is the equivalent of today's kids not being allowed a lot of screen time. Since the newer Batman stuff was geared more towards older kids, and the new Batman films carried the PG-13 rating, I was stuck with reruns of the old Batman show on TV. Sometimes I ended up seeing this version of Batman beyond the old show, including PSAs, or commercial parodies, or even a cartoon about street safety on Sesame Street. He was like a bright hero to me, helping keep people safe. I did not know that Batman was intended to be dark until Batman Begins came out. And I did not know that the version of Batman I knew as a kid was effectively a spoof of the comics. I thought that was straight up Batman. I did not know the darker versions of Batman could make you like the villain. I thought you were supposed to hate the villain. Heck, when I went to see the longest Batman movie ever, the one with Robert Pattinson that just came out, the theater was not only packed, but deathly silent. It was as if none of us ever saw a Batman movie before, even though most of us had. The Batman from 2022 was a radically different take on Batman than what many people are used to. Almost wanting you to like the villain and have a degree of hate for the hero. Since I have been diagnosed as a person on the autism spectrum, everything is black or white for me. It is either or, and there is no room for ambiguity. Growing up, I was conditioned to root for the good guys and hate the bad guys in any story. There were no exceptions, no gray areas. I only wanted to root for the three little pigs and hate the big bad wolf. I wanted to stick with that consistency for the rest of my life, but instead, I get introduced to more complex storytelling methodologies. For example, I did not know what an anti-hero was until much later. I thought an anti-hero meant the character was a villain. Nope. An anti-hero is someone who you root for in the story, but the character does things that bad guys do to achieve their goals. Batman is what many people perceive as an anti-hero nowadays. Another trick in the business is a reveal, a plot twist, with which I am familiar. However, I am not that big of a fan of characters who completely change their personalities by revealing themselves to be the villain. I need to realize and accept these stories are fantasy, purely staged. In the real world, there are both good people and bad people, and the number of good people outnumber those who are bad. That's why there exist people and protests from millions of them who want to change the hearts of a few. If every city infested with crime is often portrayed as Gotham City is seen in the modern Batman adaptations, no one would want to live in that city. In the old 1960s show, Gotham City was just the same as any other city, only there was a few bad guys who pop up here and there to try to mess around with the peace. I accepted Gotham City as being like that as a kid, never thinking about the complexity of crime-ridden pothole cities. I accepted Batman as a good guy, never as an anti-hero. I never saw Batman as someone who does terrible things. The equivalent to this version of Batman in terms of being a hopeful, pure crime fighter is the granddaddy of superheroes, Superman. Many adaptations of Superman haven't been portrayed as a ray of hope, a shining beacon, a scourge to criminals everywhere, and the ultimate do-gooder. Another piece I accepted as a kid was that superheroes do not fight each other. They work together, and I did not ever want to see them fight. I feel stories like Captain America Civil War and Batman vs. Superman are meant to teach people that there are dire consequences if we are divided and have a hatred for each other. We would be distracted from real threats. This was how the Avengers were until they reluctantly had to team up to beat Thanos, because no one hero could take on that enormous threat on their own. I only saw superheroes like Batman and Superman from a little kid point of view. The movies that come out and make $1 billion worldwide, those are more for older audiences and older fans of the superhero characters. For example, Spidey and His Amazing Friends, a preschool version of Spider-Man, is geared towards younger audiences. Spider-Man No Way Home, the movie that almost made $2 billion worldwide, is targeted more towards older audiences, even older millennials like me who remember the old Spider-Man movies from the 2000s with Tobey Maguire. The odd way I view, and I continue to view, superheroes like Batman comes from how I viewed them as a kid, or how they were introduced to me as a kid. What I got were the more kid-friendly superheroes. Moviegoers get a more mature version of the same heroes that delve into deeper themes. It is hard to move on to complex themes when you're autistic because you like consistency with storytelling. Consistency with storytelling is near non-existent because it changes with the times. Designed by people who are neurotypical, not neurodivergent. Batman was created in the late 1930s for a late 1930s neurotypical audience. Constant adaptations of this character keep Batman fresh in people's minds. To go further, I would recommend to both DC and Warner Brothers make the first ever Batman movie that has autistic characters in it. It would really help if Batman could be far less brooding and dark around someone who is neurodivergent, and at least stand up to criminals who threaten neurodivergent, awkward science nerds like myself. Batman, just because you are brooding and dark because your parents got murdered by criminals, doesn't mean that you have to be so mean to everyone you protect against the scum of Gotham City. I would rather spend time together with you, Batman, instead of the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, or Catwoman, because you have the people's best interests at heart. As for the Batsuit, well, you wear it better than me. I could not possibly put that costume on without struggling. I'm Jordan White, and thank you for watching.